Madeline and I started this 21 years ago. And the first year we did the panel, there was 10 people in the audience. So I'm delighted to see the sea of people for the women's panel. And I'm going to introduce the panelists. Please give a warm welcome to Julie Zachary. She's a PGA and head of production and Annapurna Animation, responsible for the Oscar Best Animated Film nominee, Nimona. Laura Cartman, composer of American Fiction. Maite Alberti, director and producer of the documentary The Eternal Memory. Karen Hartley Thomas, makeup and hair for the film Golda. And Diane Warren, original song, Flaming Hot. Please give a warm welcome also to the incomparable moderator, Madeline Hammond. She's the head of Madeline Hammond and Associates. You're in great hands.
Thank you, Roger. Sorry. Welcome, everybody. How are you? Good name for your company. Diane says a good name for my company. You know, people always ask me, they said, I'm starting a company, what should I name it? I said, are you the primary person doing the work? And they said, yes. I said, then name it after yourself. There you go. Right? That's my thing. All right. So sorry we're starting a little bit late. Forgive us for that. I'm gonna, for those of you, how many people have been here before and seen me moderate? All right. Well, you will be pleased to know that my usual very tall stack of index cards has been replaced by a very fancy, sleek clipboard. So I'm very excited about that. You know, it's the little details that make a difference. Okay, so Roger gave a quick intro of you. I'm gonna just do a little bit more so that you guys, everybody here, can see how wonderful these ladies are. We'll start with Diane Warren. Yes, she is a songwriter, a 15-time nominee, that's 15, for the Best Original Song, The Fire Inside, performed by Becky G, from the great film, directed by Eva Longoria, called Flamin' Hot. But let me tell you a little bit more about Diane quickly. She was, I know, I can't help it. I know, you're first up. She was the first songwriter to receive an honorary Oscar, which was presented by the Academy's Governor's Awards 2 years ago. That was a big deal. Where did you put that Oscar?
Well, it's in this lucky place with a lot of flaming hot things.
Okay.
Right now.
All right.
And he's wearing a flaming hot necklace, a little teeny one.
You put a flaming hot necklace on the
yeah.
Oscar? I think that's great. All right.
Yeah, he loves it.
And Diane released her first studio album just 3 years ago. I was amazed at that.
It was a feature. It wasn't me singing or anything. No one wants to hear that. It was features, like I was a DJ with different artists.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. She wrote 9 #1 songs, 33 top 10. She's a Grammy winner, and I love this, sole owner of her own publishing company called Real Songs. It's a big deal. And Diane has worked with just about every big name in the music business: Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Snoop Dogg, Justin Bieber. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, next, Karen Hartley Thomas, hair and makeup designer. Love that Karen is here, all the way from the UK. Oscar nominated for Golda, 2-time Primetime Emmy nominee, 3-time BAFTA nominee, works in both film and TV. She's worked with everybody, including Anthony Hopkins, Benedict Cumberbatch, Hugh Jackman, Dakota Johnson, goes on. And her first project was in television in the UK. Most recently, you did Red, White, and Royal Blue, and One Life with Anthony Hopkins. Okay. All right. Maite Alberti, 2nd-time nominee, nominated for Best Documentary for Eternal Memory. Her second nomination, you may be familiar, or if you haven't seen, check out her film, The Mole Agent, that she did in 2020. Excellent. Maite is the first Chilean woman ever nominated for an Oscar. Eternal Memory was the winner at this year's Goya Awards, which is like the Spanish Oscars, Grand Jury Award at Sundance. Maite is a scholar, an author, a documentary film professor in Chile, and she herself is also the founder of her own production company. All right. My new friend, who I just met today, Laura Cartman, is a composer for the Best Original Score for American Fiction, and here I think is an interesting stat. I have to brag about you, Laura, because this is amazing. Laura is only the 6th female nominee in this category, and if she were to win this year, she would be the very first American woman to win Best Score. And this is in 89 years since 1935, when the Academy first started recognizing music. That's pretty amazing. Whether you win or not, it's still an incredible career. She's a 5-time Emmy Award winner. She has done film, theater, video games, even opera. And in case we didn't already figure out, she's an overachiever. Just this year alone, American Fiction, The Marvels, Rock Hudson, All That Heaven Allowed, among others. So she's a very busy year. And we are proud that she has been elected the very first female governor of the music branch of the Academy. By the way, you also composed Walk, Run, Cha-Cha, one of my favorites last couple years ago. Okay. Julie Zachary, producer of Nimona. And as Roger mentioned, she has 2 roles. She's here as producer in Nimona, but also she's currently the head of animation production at Annapurna. Formerly, she was head of production at Blue Sky Studios, worked most of her career at Sony Pictures Imageworks. But the bulk of her career, and this is what I find so fascinating about Julie, she's worked in traditional VFX, motion capture, virtual production, and CG animation. Not too many women in that field. Okay. All right, so for those of you that may be familiar with the panel, we do a little bit of a deep dive into some questions with each of their respective films, and then we'll have a round robin where we'll just ask questions about life and business and all things in between, okay? So we are gonna start off. You think I'm gonna go in order, but I'm not. I know. Dan was all ready.
No, I don't like to be first.
Yeah, Diane actually paid me some money and said, I'll give you this if you don't make me first. All right, but we're gonna start with, let's start with Laura. All right.
I knew it. I felt it. I knew it was coming.
You did? I thought.
Yeah, I
you know
sort
what?
of did. I sort of intuited it.
Okay.
Are those my two? Did I blow my 2 sentences already on the film?
Well, no, you're good, because your 2 sentences are going to be, I thought it would be good just to have everybody start with a couple sentences on what their film is about. Just in the off chance you haven't had a chance to see it, I don't want anyone to be confused or lost or some of the questions that we get into. So kick it off. 2 sentences on American Fiction, if you can do it.
Okay, let's see. It's a biting satire. It's a warm family drama, comma.
Yes.
It's a comma. It's a meta-adventure and an important conversation, period. 1 sentence.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, can you give an additional sentence with some of the incredible people in the cast?
Yes, that's my pleasure. Starring Jeffrey Wright, who I know was honored here the other night, and he's amazing. Tracy Ellis Ross.
Yes.
Erica Alexander. And Sterling Brown. And Jeffrey and Sterling are also nominated for Oscars.
It is. And if you haven't seen it, all these films are worth checking out, but that one especially, because you're right, it is an important message, as anything. Okay. All right. I was reading that 3 of the major below-the-line department heads were women, which I think is that's unusual.
Yes.
So you, as well as the editor and DP, I feel like things might be getting better in these underrepresented categories, but this is me from the outside. What do you think?
Well, I think they are. I think it's a complicated question. 10 years ago, I founded, how many sentences do I have? 6?
No, you're good. You can just talk.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've got to be brief. 10 years ago, I, along with some other fabulous women, founded the Alliance for Women Film Composers. We founded it because we had actual data on how many composers were working in the movie business. And in 2014, it was 2% of the top 250 box office films. Now, 10 years later, where I had hoped that we wouldn't need this organization anymore, we have advanced, and this year we had 14% of the 250 box office films. But I hear it's a light applause because people, 50-50 by 2030.
Yeah, it's great.
For everybody, across the board, it's enough with incremental change. It's time to go for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. You are right. I don't just think it. Good. So it's a little better, but not much.
No, it's better. And look, I'm sitting here. I mean, I think that's what's extraordinary. I think, and I'm sitting here, you know, listen, I wrote a good score for a movie, but I'm sitting here also because I was a part of efforts, as well as Leslie Barber, who's in the audience today, who's our current governor of the music branch, to really diversify my branch. So what we have, and are you in VisFX or are you in animation?
I'm in animation, but I was in VFX.
Okay, so that's another, you know, VFX is another, like, really underrepresented group.
As is directors.
Yeah, as is directors. But we, the Academy, and all of us made a real effort to diversify our branches. And that effort is resulting in more action. Like, we had 2 women nominated between the beginning of the Academy and the mid-1990s when Rachel Portman and Anne Dudley were nominated. And then it was all those years before Hildur Gottendottir got nominated, and I believe it was 2017. And then since then, it's been Mika Levy, me, and Jermaine Franco. So you see that it's like, and then, woo, you know, which is good.
Yeah.
But now we need to go.
That's right. Now we need the push.
Yeah.
Now, specifically in the film, there's an incredible score that's more jazz themed. So I'm curious how that came about when you first had the Cord Jefferson as the director. So because you love jazz, was it you went to Cord wanting jazz? Did Cord come to you, or was it a meeting of the minds because you both love jazz?
No, I think when they started looking for composers, they were looking for people who were 2 things. I think people who were well-versed in jazz and also who had a tremendous amount of experience film scoring. So, you know, Cord is a first-time director, and I think they were looking for that combination. So I grew up playing jazz and classical music. You know, I learned them completely simultaneously. So for me, it's always been a part of my work, even if it hasn't always been as evident as it is in this particular project.
Were you pleased to see that the lead character's name was Thelonious Monk?
Yeah, and that's why it's jazz, you know? And so the real question was, well, how do we honor Monk? And when we first started talking about it, we talked about maybe using the music of Monk, but because how many of you have seen the film? Great. You know, the film has a lot of twists and turns, and so the score really needed to be musically gymnastic. So I wrote a theme that very, very much honored Monk, but had a kind of an arc that a scoring theme could have. So it feels like jazz, but it also goes to the different places that the theme needs to go to.
And I want to go back. You had mentioned that you were classically trained, went to Juilliard.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize that that wasn't the path for you and that you wanted to get into film composing?
Well, that's a great question. I actually had kind of an epiphany. I mean, honestly, I think there have been I don't know if you guys have had this experience, others on the panel, but sometimes I haven't always realized what it is I've wanted. I knew I always wanted to be a composer. That was never in question, but I thought I wanted to be an East Coast intellectual because I grew up out here. And I grew up in Hollywood. My dad was a cardiologist, and he had a lot of celebrity patients. And I ran away as soon as I possibly could. And so I moved away from film, but I was always interested in drama. You know, you mentioned opera, and I used to read plays and do all of this. But my very, very, very esoteric teacher at Juilliard recommended me to go to the Sundance Institute. And at that point, they were nominations. You didn't apply, you just, you know, you got nominated to go. And so I thought, oh God, 3 weeks out of New York in the summer, this will be good. I don't want to have anything to do with this. And I went, it was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And I thought there is a way forward here. But you know what was interesting, and I say this only in the context of this panel, or I say it because of this panel. So I remember one time, well, first of all, at Sundance that summer was a woman named Shirley Walker. Now, many of you probably have never heard of Shirley Walker, and that's because she's been invisible. But she was a great composer, and she helped create Danny Elfman's sound as well as many, many other film composers. And she was at Sundance, but there as the wife of her husband, who was there doing all the tech. And she helped me, and it was incredible. But she wasn't there,
As a participant.
as a participant. And I remember there was this panel and like a question and answer. There was an agent and I wasn't like, I didn't even, you don't think about feminism when you're in your 20s. It's like, you just think everything's great and it's all going to be fine. And, it was the problem of the last generation and we're all good,
Yeah, right.
And I remember they were just talking about all the guys, and the language was so male. And I didn't like sit there thinking, oh my God, this is so male. It's like, I was like, ooh. And afterwards, the guy was the panelist came in and he'd say, why didn't you ask any questions? And I said, well, honestly, I just didn't feel like it was like there's room for me in this place, And he said, come to LA, give me a call when you come.
Wow.
And then he became my first agent.
That's the greatest. That's
Yeah.
a great story. And sometimes I believe in divine intervention. I think there was a reason you were there, don't you? I think, and we hear a lot of stories about how people got into things, and it's usually some crazy detour that got them there. So I think it was no accident. But I like that you wanted to be an East Coast intellectual. I didn't know you could just decide to be that. I want to be that.
Gotta be
Apparently it didn't work, so,
I don't know. I missed that. I thought that was good. Yeah. All right, last question for you. So you got over 150 credits, film, TV, and of course games. So what did this Oscar nomination? It had to be super special. What, after all the work you've done, being a champion for diversity and for feminism and an activist, what was it? Just what the hell was that like when you got it? Amazing.
What do you say? I still can't believe it. I just never, ever thought that it would happen. And I have to tell you, it's something that I dreamed for so long that I literally, I think, one day stopped myself from dreaming it. Just like made an effort to do that. Like I remember my brother used to tickle me when I was a kid, so I stopped being ticklish, that kind of thing. And so it's the same kind of thing where I just sort of decided that it was just never going to happen, and it was just a privilege to be able to make a living as a composer, and But I think what this means to me is, look, not only is it a wonderful film that obviously has the juice that a film needs in order to get recognized, but it's a beautiful tribute to me from my community.
Right.
And I know Diane will say the same thing. I mean, Diane is so beloved within our music community, and she's such an incredible songwriter, but she had a party this year, and what she does that is so incredible is she brings everybody together, famous people, not famous people, but everybody is in the same space together.
That's great.
Celebrating community, and I think that's why I'm sitting here.
Stay up all night. And can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
So it's like the fucking coolest thing to hear the name. Can I say that? Oh.
Yeah, you can say it.
Like, it's so
Yeah.
fucking cool. Like to see.
Definitely.
So the category, I just want to say this really fast because it's about you. So the song category came on, and I thought the Fire Inside would be T later, but it was the first one. I was like, oh my God. But then it went to the score, and the first one up was Laura, and I was the first one to call you.
She was the first one
I
to
was
call
so
me.
excited for Laura.
She
So
called
cool.
me when we were still in the the ugly cry phase, like it was not pretty, like the publicist said, maybe you should film yourself. It's like,
No.
No, it never. No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to
It's
be
also
excited.
it's early, right? And you're like full of anticipation. I think that's great you did that. But
Did you go to sleep? You didn't go to sleep.
no,
Don't lie.
we were up at like 4, and we have these ridiculous dogs, and
But Diane has the all-nighter. We've been invited to the all-nighter.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, they're fun. They're fun. Except when it gets to be about 4 in the morning, going, oh fuck, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm so
an hour,
tired.
20 minutes. Oh no.
about 4
But
you're
the,
feeling kind of sick to your stomach. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, but I just want to tie that up by saying, but what you have done, Diane, is you have built a community. There is a real music community, and that's
true.
great. So that's
I
great.
love it. I love it. So
All
happy.
right. So next is Karen Hartley-Thomas.
Yay!
Yay,
Thank
Karen.
you. It gets it over with quicker.
Don't worry, Karen's great. I got everybody all scared. I'm like, we got to go quickly, and so now they're no, it's all good. Don't worry. Okay, Karen. A little bit about Gilda, Did I just say Gilda?
Gilda is-
Golda. What is wrong with me? Of course, Golda. Tell us a little bit about that, and then I'm going to get into it. I got some good questions for you, too.
Golda is set in Israel in 1973, and it's the story of Golda Meir through the Yom Kippur War as a prime minister, as a woman, and it's played by Dame Helen Mirren.
Fantastic. And just to add to that a little bit, if you haven't seen it, I did not know much that this was going on. Were you surprised, too, when you read it? About the whole Yom Kippur War and what went on during that time?
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best bit of the job almost, the research and looking into things. We got to know Golda's grandchildren quite well. They really helped us with stuff, you know, how she looked. It was really one of those special projects.
And you know how Helen Mirren can transform into any role? You're watching Golda and you forget, that's pretty amazing, you forget it's her. You did such an extraordinary job. My compliments to you. The nose, the ankles, everything. You know how you can...
The ankles, yes. Well, those ankles were...
No
they were
makeup, but the
tights.
prosthetics.
They were tights. They weren't prosthetics
Oh, they weren't?
even. We were low budget. They were tights that pulled on with sort of
So it's swollen?
padding in.
Oh, gosh, crazy.
Yes.
Okay, so first I have to ask, there's a great director, directed Golda, Guy Natif. So what was your response when you found out that you only had literally, could this be right, 6 weeks to prepare?
No, my jaw dropped open because I got the interview very late and I knew they were shooting in 6 weeks' time, but that's normal with independent film. That's just how it rolls sometimes. So I had a quick Zoom with him. I was working with Hugh Jackman and I said, Hugh, I've got to disappear for half an hour. I said, well, make it half an hour. Okay. Guy, I've only got half an hour. So that's okay. And then...
Came back 6 weeks.
And then he said, it's 6 weeks. I said, I actually don't think I can do it.
Wow.
He said, we're doing it. We have to do prosthetics on Golda. It was such an important story for Guy to tell, particularly.
Right. Very personal to him.
Very personal to him. And so many Israeli actors in it. And you never want to do that kind of film with such an, I mean, Helen's an iconic woman, Golda Meir's an iconic woman. You never want to do it badly. You never want to fall on your arse, is that all right to say? But you don't, do you?
Right.
Sorry.
Well,
You just never...
listen, on this panel, ass is nothing.
Dirty panel, folks.
Yeah, that's like a piece of cake. Do you think what helped you make that decision to go from a no to a yes was because you had worked with Helen before?
Yes, that's exactly right. I did a film with Helen called The Duke, where she played...
Great film.
Thank you. Where she played a sort of 60s downtrodden cleaner. And that's tough enough with beautiful Helen. So I know her face so well. I know Helen so well. But nonetheless, I got on a Zoom with her and Sinead Kiddow, our costume designer. And Helen just looked at me and said, Karen, you know, I don't want to do this. Let's get the wig done. Let's get everything done.
Right.
And see. She said, I can't sit in prosthetics for hours on end. So we did the wig, we got eyebrows, contact lenses, teeth, absolutely everything.
The nose?
The nose. We did the prosthetics, though, because I think Helen had it in her mind that she'd have a face totally consumed by it. But we made the pieces in a different way than people normally do. So we just had 2 little eye bags, cheeks, little nose piece, and a neck. And we could have used all of it or some of it. And we actually, at one point, thought, you know what, maybe we'll just use the wig and the eyebrows.
Right.
We just wanted to, in those 6 weeks,
Right.
I mean, literally, Helen was here in Los Angeles. She was in Los Angeles. And we got her the next day to somebody who did the live scan for us, because she was flying out to Italy. And it had to be, it was just mad. We hit the ground running. And I think because we knew each other, she kind of went with it more.
And probably because you didn't overdo your part, it made her feel better about the other part. Because they go together, the prosthetics and the hair and the makeup and everything.
It all goes
Wig.
together.
Right.
And yeah, so you know, it all
helps.
has to tie in.
You had to tie it all together.
Yeah, and she was very, very reluctant, but when...
Is it because sitting in the chair?
Sitting in the chair, it was 2.5 hours, though, that's pretty quick.
I just can't even imagine. How do they meditate, keep still, watch TV?
No, she would sit with her iPad watching Golda and listening to Golda's voice in her ear.
And when you watch the film, and I hope all of you do, you'll see her voice is transformative.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
Amazing. She's amazing.
What's harder to do, men or women? Is there a
It
difference?
depends on the project, really. I mean, in that we had Liev Schreiber playing Henry Kissinger.
Right.
I didn't meet Liev until 2 days before shooting. So we had to suddenly come up with a wig for Liev as well. So I got in touch with Campbell Young in New York and said, have you got a shape for Liev? Yeah, send
Like 2
it.
days before?
2 days before. So yeah, I'm a bit of a sad, sorry sight here, aren't I, with all this? But it was, I just got the shape, I did it, and Liev does wear wigs, and we literally put it on his head 2 days before. But with Helen, she arrived a week before shooting as well. So we had one test, and that was it.
So just for us that may not be familiar with the process, is it less time to take everything off? Do you just like wash it off fast? No.
No,
it's very careful.
It's 2.5 hours to put it on, but it's an hour to take it off. It is a long process to take it. You've got to be so careful with all those prosthetics on the face. I don't want to give Helen Mirren a dermabrasion facial, do I, when she's taking her makeup off?
Right.
So yes, it's all.
It's a good point.
Massive, I mean, Helen's call, we would start on a Monday, say 5, and then of course with the turnaround time, it knocked on till martinis on a Friday night. That was the order of the day.
Thank God.
That's what we looked forward to.
So, last question for you. If you could, say you had a dream project, you got that call, would you want to do something totally different, like sci-fi, horror, crazy, like what would you want? Would there be period piece?
No, I always do periods now.
Yeah. What would you want to do?
I want to do, I'm putting it out there now because I've never worked in this country. I want to do something like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. I want a Hollywood film glamour.
Oh, I've got it for you.
Thank you so much.
No,
Very good being here.
I'm now interrupting, but we
Can I do the song?
We've optioned. Yes, you can. We've optioned Dorothy Arzner's Dance Girl Dance, and Nora and I are going to make it in. My wife and I are going to make it into a musical.
That's so great.
Yeah. So
I love America.
There's your Hollywood movie. There's your Hollywood movie.
That's so cool. Karen, this could be it. You heard it here. I like it.
Thank you.
But that's so interesting. You want to do like a romantic musical. I love it. Okay. You never know what you're going to hear here.
She didn't say musical, but she's doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Could make it a musical. All right, Maite, Alberta. Tell us a little bit about The Eternal Memory, a wonderful documentary about two incredible people. And tell us a little bit about it.
Well, The Eternal Memory, it's the more romantic story that I have ever seen in the context of Alzheimer, with Alzheimer is a challenge and not a tragedy for this couple.
Alzheimer's is not a tragedy. That's an interesting way to look at it. And you're right, because as sad as it may be, parts may be sad, you're left very hopeful. I think, and we've spoken about this, to me it's the quintessential love story.
Yeah, it's a big love story.
Tell us, were you familiar with, the two characters are Augusto and Paulina. Were you familiar with Augusto and his career and reputation? He was a very outspoken reporter in Chile, and his wife, who is an actress.
Yeah, both of them are very important figures in Chile. He was a very important journalist that during dictatorship, he made clandestine newscasts to report on everything that was happening in the country, the things that were not appear in the official media. And then when dictatorships finished, he was the main journalist of the public television, and he created all the cultural program that exists in Chilean television in the 90s until, for 20 years. And my first approach with cinema and documentaries was with a TV program that he creates, and he was the anchor man, that was called Cine Plus Video, and he analyzed scenes of documentary and films. And I was a teenager, and I loved that program. And yeah, I grew up seeing him, and I admire him a lot. And Paulina, she's a very important actress for television and theater, and she was the first Minister of Culture that we had in Chile.
Wow.
So yeah, it's their careers mix politics and art, yeah.
And then how did you come to tell their story? And did you find them or did they find you?
I find them in a very lucky situation. Like I always say that nobody knocked the door of your house to find a character for documentaries, but in this case was something like that. When he was diagnosed by Alzheimer, he openly made a very big interview in a magazine saying to all the country that he got Alzheimer. Was very, very brave. And I was teaching in a university where Paulina worked, and I knew because I read the interview that he has Alzheimer, and I realized that she brings him to her work, and all the people that work with her integrate him, and she was to the directors' meetings, the board meeting with him, and she made the class with him there. And it was unbelievable because they seemed very happy together, being a couple in that context. And it was the first time I shot at many people with dementia before. And it was the first time that I saw a person with dementia not isolated, not alone, and the caregiver neither. And they were into society, socializing all the time. And for me, it was the best example of how we have to deal, not only the caregiver, but also the environment with people with Alzheimer. Yeah, it was very touching. And since that moment, I invite them to make the film.
Oh, that's so great. That's wonderful. But you're so right. Usually Alzheimer's depicted in a very, the long goodbye is very sad, is very different. And you're right, they were a couple till the very, very, very end.
Yeah, and we are also so used to the fictions drama about Alzheimer that it's always tragedy and terrible. And I think that they are the perfect example that we all are going to pass through illness, but it's the way that you manage that and the way that you live that what can make all the difference. And that was what I was sewing that was unbelievable for me, yeah.
So great. Well, not only because we have a songwriter and a composer on the panel, but I love the score of your film.
Yeah.
And can you tell us how you found this composer and how involved you were in choosing the music? Because it was a very big part of it.
Yeah, there are a couple that they listen a lot of music. Indeed, I was like getting a little bit crazy because they were with the radio all day, and it was like, I cannot pay all these music rights, like what am I going to do? Like, can you turn off the radio? And in the pandemic, I sent the camera to her, and she was listening music all the time again, and I was like, what I'm going to do? So finally, what we did is we make a list of the songs that they accompany them in all their relationship, and were they meaningful for them? And from that list, we think which songs were meaningful in all the Ibero-American world as romantic and love songs. So we picked that, and we asked two very important Spanish and Latin American artists to make covers of that song. So our new versions of classical love songs, yes.
That's great.
And
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool, Diane?
Really cool, and saved you a lot of money there.
Yes, exactly.
I think for sure on that. Is there...
But the budget of the music was like higher than the shooting budget, I think. Yeah.
That's good. Was there one takeaway that you got from Augusto and Paulina from this film? Is there one thing you look back and say, I still remember that and I take that with me every day?
There are so many things. Well, for me as a filmmaker, I got a very important lesson from Augusto, that he was also a documentary filmmaker, because when I invited him to make the film, she didn't want it, and I understood her reasons, because she was afraid to expose him, and it was a year of conversations. And at some point he said, like, stop, like, you don't have to be embarrassed for my fragility. I shot so many people in my life, and during dictatorship, so many people opened the door to my camera to show their pain, so why am not going to open the door of my house to show my own pain? And he said, a register and a film should exist in spite of everything. And that as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Was a big, big lesson to me of generosity and to understand the importance of show fragility and yeah, I think that when I will be in the retirement home, I have to allow students to shoot me.
To watch you.
Of course. Well, that was a big lesson, and of course a lesson about memory, I think, because I was thinking that I was making a film about what do you forget in the Alzheimer, but at the end it's a film about what do you always remember, because I have a main protagonist that he forget the rational information, he forget dates, he forget, information, but he never forget his love and he never forget his historical pains. So that was for me the eternal memory, the things that always reminds in your body that it's emotion, and that is for me the big lesson of the film. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. That's a great lesson. Okay, Miss Julie Zachary, let's talk about a wonderful animated film.
Thank you. I need a moment, though. I just watched her film in the car on the way up here, and I was just so profoundly affected by it.
Oh,
it was
I love
absolutely
that.
stunning. It's like so fresh in my mind 5 minutes ago that, it's such a beautiful story.
How cool that you watched it on your way up here.
Yes, it was all the feels.
That's so great. You know what, just to go back to my favorite line in the film was, I just remember this, it stuck with me. Those who have memory have courage. Without memory, we don't know who we are. Isn't that great? Wow. I thought it was great. Anyway, all right, Julie, you got to get it together, girl. All right.
I got it.
You want me to come back to you? Want me to do Diane and give you a minute?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, all right. We're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about a lovely and a very important animation film called Nimona that had quite an interesting journey that I think you'll love. So first, pull it together for a sec, take a sip of water, and tell us what Nimona is about. And you can watch it, by the way, now on Netflix.
Yes, you can watch it on Netflix. It is about an uptight knight who partners with a shape-shifting teenager to clear his name. But essentially, it's a love letter to anyone who's felt othered. It's a story about accepting who you are and living in a world that may not accept who you are, and understanding how to bridge the gap.
Oh, that's lovely. Good. Now, will you tell us about the very quite incredible and the journey that film took to get made. Circuitous
journey. The film lived through a studio merger. Disney acquired Fox Studios, which is where it was at. Blue Sky Studios was part of Fox and was acquired by Disney.
And you were there then?
I was there right at the cusp of Disney taking over. I wasn't there through the acquisition. I came on to help reinvent the studio with Disney. I was hired to help the studio forge its path as it's a new studio underneath Disney. A year later, we were shut down due to COVID and other factors. Disney was bleeding money all over the place, and we had a movie that may or may not have been their favorite. And then we took it through an acquisition. Megan Ellison and Annapurna Pictures picked it up. And it was at the same moment a triumph, but we didn't know what we were doing. We were all filmmakers. We had all worked in really big studios. I didn't even know what turnaround meant. I mean, I knew what it meant, but I didn't know what you needed to do to get a movie in turnaround, or how to deal with Disney in terms of...
Probably good you didn't.
I know, and so, you know what, it literally was, because we didn't know what we didn't know, and through the kindness of people who were offering advice, I called my cousin, he called a banker, we called other studios, we called our friends, how do we do this? The reels were so strong, and the movie felt so important, and so many people connected to it, that on that strength, we were able to get it to Megan Ellison, who watched it and said, I needed that movie when I was younger. I saw myself in Nimona. What do you need?
Because it had an LGBTQ character.
It did have an LGBTQ character, and it was not anything that we were making a big deal of. It was part of the story. We weren't messaging to anyone. It was just part of its being, and we had received many notes along the way to talk about the gay thing, or to really consider taking that part out, but we as filmmakers never did. It was never an option. It was always going to be there. And thank you.
Right. I mean, it's an important thing. You left it in, and but it's just so seamlessly integrated. I can't believe you got those notes, but then again, I can.
It's so seamlessly integrated because for Nimona specifically, we wanted the world, even though it was a medieval future, it does not exist. It was a little bit Blade Runner meets Princess Bride, right? There's a medieval component of it, and there's also this crazy future. We wanted to make the world reflect the world that we live in, and guess what? There's gay people in the real world. There's trans people in the real world. I know, right? Don't tell anyone, but they're there. So it was very important for us to have also a representation for women. There were women nights, representation for men. So anyway, the story was very important for us to be authentic to a world that we saw ourselves living in, and we wanted that on screen.
And then how ultimately did it get to Netflix, and how was, through Annapurna?
Through Annapurna. Netflix at one point actually had, the studio was for sale for a hot minute. So Disney did try to sell us, and Netflix did come and take a look at what we had going and take a look at our amazingly talented artist population. At the time, though, they weren't ready to acquire a studio. They had seen the movie. So once we had secured financing and once Megan was behind us and supporting us, they wanted to distribute it, which is great. Very shortly they came on board.
That's so fantastic. That's great. What was it like working with, so there's this incredible writer, N.D. Stevenson, very talented. What was it like, animator writer? What was it like working with her?
ND is the author of the graphic novel, and in the beginning, the movie had gone through many different iterations, many different executive staffs, many different directors in the beginning, and ND had worked with them. So it had seen a couple of different transformations before it finally got to us, and we were able to tell the story that you saw on screen. There was frustration with him at some of the turns that it had actually taken. Then there was, we always brought him into the story room. We brought him into different screenings. We did some punch-up writing with him. And at the end of the day, when we showed him our final version, we screened it in Burbank, and he turned around and he was like, you guys made the movie of the story that I was trying to tell 10 years ago. I didn't even know I was telling that story because at the time he didn't know he was trans, and I don't want to speak for him. I don't want to put those words in his mouth, but he had realized that the story that ultimately ended up was his journey and very much reflective. Nimona was very much reflective of the way he was feeling and the things that he was struggling with.
Amazing.
Not getting acceptance.
I was privileged to do an interview with him, and I'm sorry, I apologize for getting his pronoun wrong. But what I found so extraordinary about ND was how self-effacing, self-deprecating, how down to earth, and doesn't even really realize the impact that this story had on so many.
You know, it's really funny too, because when we've been doing a lot of Q&As with him, and he takes on this, and I don't want to call it a burden. For him, it's not a burden, but so many people come up to him with their stories, and it could be people who are trans, it could be LGBTQ. There are autistic adults come up to him and said, I didn't know I was autistic until I was in my 40s. I've never connected with anything other than this. He takes on that burden and he absorbs it, but he's there with a real true ear as a real listener and a real, a lot of empathy.
Yep, amazing. So this experience, being the producer on Nimona, now you're head of at Annapurna in a studio job. How do you merge the two? What did you learn from that, and how does this help you in your day-to-day?
Annapurna is a very filmmaker-friendly studio. Megan has always been. Megan's number one is to make sure the filmmakers are supported in their storytelling. And you know, as a head of studio, it's really easy to say that I'm an executive, but I'm not. I'm a filmmaker. I want to tell stories. I want to tell authentic stories, and I also want the voices of the people around me to be heard. I don't need the last word. I need to support and to understand and to help grow and develop other people's visions if it's not my own. So as a filmmaker, understanding the business and understanding the process, I honestly feel like it's the perfect marriage. Unfortunately, not all executives have been filmmakers themselves. So there are some struggles like that with other studios, but hopefully
that's
not
good
for me.
But you're in a good place, and that's what's so great.
Thank you.
All right. So last but not least, to my left is Miss Diane Warren. I kept Diane for last because she's that 15-time nominee, which is just so extraordinary. I don't know what to do.
Thank you.
So proud of her. Okay, tell us a little bit about Flamin' Hot, and then we'll get into it.
In 2 sentences, how many
2 sentences.
It's about someone who came from nothing, making something out of their life with everything against them by sheer passion, basically.
So to just add to that super vague description.
It was really vague. Okay, he's a janitor.
He's a janitor.
He's a janitor at Frito-Lay. He was a gang member. This is a true story of Richard Montañez.
Right.
Came from nothing, was in jail, just totally fucked up life.
Yep.
But he had this dream,
Had a dream.
A flamin' hot, making flamin' hot Cheetos or whatever when he worked at the Cheetos factory. And everybody said, you're crazy, it's not gonna work. And he called the head of the company from his janitor's room. Right, yeah, exactly. And he made it happen, and it's just a great story, and there's so much heart in it too.
And just to add briefly to what Diane is saying, it's a guy that, you're right, he had a dream, he saw a vision, he knew how to do the spices, but what was so important was he got this product, because they launched it and then they thought, oh, no one's gonna buy it. I don't even think they wanted people to buy it. But he got it into that Latino community.
Well, you know what? It's like he went and bought it. Okay, so like I'm in the music business, and we would do stuff like that.
Same thing.
We'd call all the radio stations in certain cities to make the record. They think it was blowing up somewhere and things like that. And just you got to do what you got to do, because everything's against you.
You got to hand out your records sometime.
Yeah,
and that's
look,
what he did.
I was in Van Nuys. I'm a song, trying to be a songwriter. My dad sold insurance, and I would cold call publishers, heads of labels. They'd basically hang up on me. But fuck it, I had a dream, man, and nothing was going to stop me. So I get it. His story really resonated.
Yeah, it's great. How'd you get Becky G on board?
I think Eva reached out to her, but when I do a song for a movie, I'm a casting director too for that song. And the artist for that song has to be, they have to be able to sing the song, so they have to be authentic to the song, but they have to be authentic to the movie. They have to be a part of that movie.
Right, that's good.
So Becky G could have been in Flamin' Hot.
That's important, you're right.
She came from nothing too, so she came, she invented herself, with a dream. She lived in a garage with her mom and sister,
So cool.
So.
Because you have to be able to sing like you really feel it. And so
Yeah.
you can't feel it if you're not part of it.
Right.
Can you share the story, I love it so much, about how you ran into, you just bugged Eva, like when you're gonna write the movie?
Okay, so I'm really annoying. Anybody that knows me knows how annoying I am, but
Persistent.
I'm really persistent, and I knew that Eva was going to direct this movie, and I worked with Devon Franklin, who produced it on Breakthrough, I was nominated for that too. I lost that one too. I've lost 14 of them, but it's all good. Anyway, I knew she was going to do it, and she was in my building, and I kept saying, Eva, I want to do the song for your movie. She goes, I don't know.
She's in your office building.
Yeah.
And you literally see her on the way to work, and you're like, what are you doing in your movie?
Yeah, and I would just see in the elevator, she'd go, oh my God, Diana, we're working on the script. I go, so when are you going to have it? And finally she said, I have something for you to see. And I saw it, and I loved the movie so much. It has if you guys haven't seen it, see it. It's on Hulu and Disney+. It's a beautiful story. Yeah.
So this is one where you went to her, but how do you decide, what makes it yes?
I don't mind chasing.
No, I know. What if someone's chasing you? How do you decide when to say yes? What is the deciding factor? I don't think it's money.
It's not about money. Oh God. So, every time I say that, then, well, you said it wasn't about money, so can you do it for free? You know how that goes.
We didn't mean no money.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about money for me. It never was. But what was your question again?
Just want to know what makes you say yes.
Oh, if I feel like I could do something great for it, if I could feel like I can get inspired by it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a documentary or a big, huge movie. If I feel like I could do something great for it, I do it.
It's good. So I want to hear about this songwriting process. I have in my mind that you're like up all night with your cat. You're sweet.
My cat writes the
adorable
songs.
Cat. I kind of. We all know that. We do. We've seen evidence of this.
The secret's out.
Secret is out. But what is your process like? Like I know today when we were talking, you're like, oh, I feel like I should be writing. Is it always in your head? Do you ever?
Well, I'm always writing, and Saturday's like a big writing. I mean, I write every day. But with this movie, when she finally, gave in and showed me the movie, I wrote down the title, The Fire Inside, because it was that's what just, it's like I saw the title. And to me, it's a fire inside. When you eat Cheetos, yes, you will have a fire inside. But
that was good.
But it's true. but the fire inside is about passion, and it's about when you have that fire, fire in your belly, that fire inside that makes you go like, fuck you, I'm gonna do it. I don't care, like, you could tell me I'm crazy, all this stuff. Like as I was watching the movie, I'm going, oh my God, I'm Richard Montañez. I feel like I'm him, it's that thing that you have that, everybody could slam doors on your face, but, the fire inside burns them all down.
It does.
And so I had that title. I went to the office the next day and I programmed a reggaeton beat. I knew it had to move. I heard it being a really reggaeton, Latin vibe. And I came up with that chorus.
So do you sit down with a notepad?
No,
You just listen?
I just sat down with a drum pattern and played some chords, and nothing can hold you back, no one can kill your vibe when you got the fire inside. I was like, ooh, okay.
And it's
you're
off
gonna
to the
own
races.
this life because you got the fire. Yeah, but then how do you get there? It's like building a house in the middle of a forest.
Wow.
How do I get to the house? I built a cool house, but okay, like I need a great verse. I need great opening line. I love opening lines. And it was like, oh, you got places to go. You're not going there slow. No. And I was like, yes, because, when you have that thing, when you have a dream, when you have that passion, you're not going there slow.
It's great.
And, instant gratification isn't
Can't
fast
even
enough.
imagine. Hey, I gotta go back. You said your dad, it was insurance?
My dad sold insurance.
What about your mom?
My mom was a housekeeper,
My mom musically inclined?
No, not at all musically inclined. And my dad, always believed in my dream. And my mom was like,
That's
it's a
great.
beautiful song. Go to Ralph's and see if they'll give you groceries for it.
Go to Ralph's. There you go.
Yeah, really,
Yeah,
literally.
good luck with that
But you
career.
know what? But here's the thing. It's really fun proving people wrong, right? Right, guys?
Yeah,
It's so
is.
fun. Like, and I had to my mom was the first person I had to prove wrong,
I know. I think I'll have the same mother.
I feel like that every day. I feel like, wait, what'd you say?
We're all the same. I used to work at the Coca-Cola company, and then I had like 6 jobs after that. She still sends me clippings every time someone got promoted at Coca-Cola.
Oh my
Who is
God.
this person? Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
she never got over it. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
That's awesome.
Hey, so you're a native Angelino.
Van Nuys.
Van Nuys.
Anybody from Van Nuys here?
Whoa, one person.
Not many.
One person.
Not many.
All right, that's your
I
friend.
know Wiener's from Northridge. My friend Wiener.
So, what was it
Valley.
like when you got that star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? That had to mean a lot.
Someone is shitting on me and walking on me right now. That's what it means.
Probably so. Yes, you may be right. But
That's
still
going to
was
be
a
the
big
best
moment.
line of the panel, everybody. Nobody's going to top that.
It's true. Someone's taking a
Yeah,
shit
but someone's doing that like all the time, every day, all the time.
figuratively
Doesn't matter.
and,
But was that like cool? That had to be
Yeah, okay, the funniest thing.
amazing.
It was really cool. My mom always steals things, would steal. I have a picture of my mom with a purse because there was a luncheon after. She has a pepper sticking out of it. It's like the best picture ever.
Like the pepper mill?
Yeah, like a big red pepper.
A red pepper.
Which brings us back to Flamin' Hot.
Yeah. It all ties together.
It all.
That is really funny. I can't. So she likes to take like leftover food.
Well, she's not with us anymore. Hi, Mom. I can go to Ralph's.
You can go to Rouse. I love it. All right, well, so last question for you is only because I feel like now we're just in this time where we have to mention Taylor Swift, right? Because otherwise, what the hell? And you wrote a song with her a long time ago, then it got re-released. Yeah. You still keep in touch? Do you know her?
Yeah, it was cool. Thanks
Yeah?
for taking me along for the ride, Taylor. It was better that came out now that, like, you're the biggest star in the world, so it was 10
Yeah,
years.
better now than the 5 years ago.
Yeah, real cool.
Way to go. Okay, I like it. Good. All right, and then one last thing. Most embarrassing request you got from someone? Did they were like, oh, I love that song. Can you sing it into my phone?
God, I don't know. There's a lot of embarrassing things, and I can't think of them.
Okay, good. It might be really
I
embarrassing.
embarrass myself.
Did you ever write a jingle? Starting out or
No,
commercial?
no.
Nothing? Just
No,
write
but
into songs.
They use my songs for them a lot.
I have to say
Oh,
though.
they wanted to use, well, that's not that funny. No, someone wanted to use one of my songs for something really stupid. It was a lot of money, and I said no.
I like that. At least you
Kinda,
stuck.
now I'm thinking, oh.
Yeah, at least you stuck to your principles as they are. All right.
Whatever ones I have.
Whatever ones they are. I like that. All right. Okay, so now we're going to go to another part. We're going to do the round robin. Just fun, just like quick questions, okay? In no particular order. I'm going to ask a question. I'll start with someone, and if someone has a good story, chime in. We know how to interrupt, right? Everybody's mic's on? Okay. All right. This is one of my favorite, and only because we do this so much. Who's got the best travel tip? We're going to start with you, Karen, because you probably travel the most.
And you.
I always travel. I never have always put my stuff in the hold with cubes, and I always have my swimming costume in my handbag. Just in case all else fails, I've got that.
You got your bathing suit?
A bathing suit in the handbag.
And a handbag, all right? Maite?
Yes.
Melatonin in my handbag, it's the only tip.
You do what?
Melatonin in my...
Oh, melatonin in your thing. Okay, good. Anybody else?
Pashmina for the plane.
Oh, pashmina. You got to have your own pashmina. Okay. All right, Laura, while we're on you. Best advice you ever got?
Well, I'll tell you the worst advice I ever got.
Tell me the worst. Even better.
It was from my grandmother. And she said, don't be too smart for the boys.
Oh.
Anyway, I became queer, so that's
There you
that's
go,
how that
Granny.
worked out, yeah.
And then wait, Karen, you got bad advice?
Well, I got bad advice, or people might think I should have listened to it. But when I started at the BBC, 3 makeup designers took me off for tea and said, "You're never going to make it in this industry with that laugh.
No.
You have to change the laugh. You won't, honestly." So I sort
Crazy.
of manufactured a sort of wheeze. So I'd go, and then out would come the guffaw at the end. So, it just couldn't work.
No, it got worse.
I hope they're watching. I hope somehow they can watch today. Yes.
I hope they're watching the Oscars.
Me too.
What about you?
Okay,
Worst advice.
I got 2.
I'm ready.
My mom learned shorthand and typing.
Yes, we all were told that.
Okay.
And shorthand and
The
typing.
guitar teacher, when I was 11 years old, my dad bought me a little guitar from Mexico. And he took me to take guitar lessons, but I was already starting to write, my own little songs. And he was teaching me scales, whatever. And the second time I came back, he said, "Mr. Warren, don't bring your daughter back. She has no future in music."
Wow. Is that right? Well,
I didn't believe him. My
No.
dad didn't believe him either. I just didn't want to learn the fucking scales.
Yeah.
I wanted to write my own songs.
Yeah. I've heard those stories before where people are told you'll never make it in this business or whatever, and yeah, but we fuck them. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. Julie, bad advice?
Don't get into film. It's not a career. From my dad.
Wow.
Yeah, he wanted me to go to vet school, which I did, and then failed out. So here I am in film. Worked.
There you go. It's good. I think it's destiny. Okay, let's see. Karen, where were you when you heard you got nominated?
Oh, well, I was filming in Morocco, and we were in the Oscars hotel, and we kind of drove in, and I was furious to see all these beautiful paintings and portraits of famous Hollywood stars, because I was absolutely convinced I wouldn't win. So we sat in that hotel with our cast and my team, and the screaming, I just couldn't believe it. Crying, screaming.
Wow.
It was special, really just so special.
That's a good one. Yay. And Diane, we know you're in your PJs with your buddies. Did the champagne start?
I'm not cool enough to go to sleep.
No, you have to stay out.
Okay, so we start out the night. It's called the Sleepless Sleepover, and and you just have pizza and you hang out with your friends. A bunch of people are there, and then it kind of starts slowly. People leaving, and then the crazy people stay. And
And then you champagne it up when you.
I'm just too nervous to do anything. So I'm just like, and then it's like, about 4 in the morning. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Getting to 5, because it starts at 5:20 is when the nominations are announced, and it's so nerve-wracking.
Is your category early on or middle?
This time it was it was right after the commercial on the second half, right?
Yeah. Miserably, yes.
And usually song is after score. Yeah, it's miserable.
Or they changed it up this year?
Now they put song first. I was like, oh fuck, it's T. Like I said, the fire, and so I thought it would be like later. That's the first one, and I'm like, just freaked. You know what? I've been nominated a lot of times, but it never fucking gets old. Yeah. It's so. Listen, you guys. Okay, everybody here. I just want to say this. Everybody sitting here. There's only 5 people chosen in their field. Okay, by the best of the best of the best of the best on the planet of what everybody on here does. Right. Okay. If you hear your name or your work or your song or your score or whatever called, you have fucking won. Sorry I said fucking so many times, but you've won already. And then what happens after that, whatever, I haven't won yet, but I love getting nominated. I feel like I win every time I get nominated.
Well,
and everybody here on this panel, you've already won. Every one of us here.
And it's however you'll be introduced. You're always Oscar nominated or Oscar winning, you know?
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, I got a
It's
note.
going to be in front of all your names.
Julie, where were you?
I'm an East Coaster, so I had gotten my coffee, gotten my bagel, went into the office with the rest of my coworkers, and
You slept?
I did, because we're on the East Coast. So I got up at a normal hour and went into the office, and
Into the office?
we did, because we all gathered, and we watched it together. And there's a couple of us who were remote, so they were on Zoom, and the Zoom feed was ahead of our feed. So everybody started screaming. We're like, stop, stop! And yeah, so we all got to celebrate together as a group.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then what about you, Maite?
I was at Sundance, and I was in an apartment with my producers. I didn't sleep. I went to a party, and I drank a lot, and
really?
I had not drink again since that day because it was very too much. And I thought I was not going to be nominated, so it was a kind of farewell with our crew, like very nice, and it was like thanks to everybody the night before. And I cannot sleep. And we screamed so much that we thought that people was going to call the police. It was very
that's
crazy.
so cool.
Yeah. Yes.
And what about you, Laura?
Well, I don't know if we slept or what you would call it. We got up at about 4, and we have these 2 dogs that are just the worst dogs. I mean, they're really bad. So we took them out, and then we came inside, and the door blew open. And I said, okay, come on in. It was my parents. I said, sit down on the couch next to us. We're going to go watch over there. And we waited. And when Sterling Brown's nomination came in, it was the first one called out. I thought, oh, that's good. You know, because
It was.
the film, that meant that the film, you know, because I think he wasn't one of the predicted, you know, people, but it was, as I said earlier, I mean, just, it still continues to be. I mean, I started shopping right after. I mean, immediately started shopping, I think as like an anxiety thing. I mean, I kind of haven't stopped, but I think I'm still feeling anxious.
You want to hit the outlets with us on the way back, Laura?
No, it's like crazy, the shopping. But I think it was like 10 days afterwards, Nora and I looked at each other, and it was like, oh my God. But anyway, we started weeping hysterically. And then we went down the hallway and woke up our son, 13-year-old, who really, you know, doesn't wake easily.
But in this case, you're like, you get on up.
He got up. But listen, here's a secret I'm going to tell everybody in the audience, which is the best thing of all. So he plays jazz, and he's at Crossroads School in the 8th grade jazz collective. And
That's cool.
The kids have asked to learn one of the songs from American Fiction. Wow. And his friends. Isn't that nice?
That's really nice. That's good. Well, we're gonna we have to wrap this up right on time because Maite has somewhere very important to be. And
My 5-year-old son is waiting. I have to pick him back, sorry.
I love it. No, it's okay. So we didn't have time to get to a lot of questions, but I think we did learn a lot about them and their film. And there's one thing that we didn't do. I wanted to save it to the end. So if you don't mind,
Getting an Oscar?
Yeah, you're getting an Oscar. I know.
Far out.
You're getting something. No, we didn't have a chance to show the clips of each of their fantastic films. And I want to do that before we go because I think there's nothing more important than for you to see a little bit of their work and then hopefully motivate you to watch it. Or you know what? Watch it a second time if you've seen it. And in case at the end I don't thank you to each of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I
Thank you,
appreciate that.
everybody.
And now,
Thanks for coming.
fantastic. One more round of applause for our great panel and hope to see you next year.